There, my name is Carly. I go to Grand Canyon University, and I am doing a report on the article, The Body Ritual Among the Nacirema. I believe that's how it's pronounced. So after reading the body ritual among the Nacirema, I was surprised to see kind of how sadistic and kind of demonic their practices are, especially for our time period. These people, they focus so much time and energy on their obsession of the human body and the ugliness within each human that they see and portray. We know one thing for sure after reading this, that the Nacirema has a very successful economy and they're very highly developed. During the reading, we learn that they focus so much time and effort on the rituals and the feasts and the fasting to alter the human body. They pretty much change anything and everything that they can within themselves because the views on themselves are very different from ours. We see, especially as Christians, we see the body as a temple. We nourish this, we protect it, we heal our bodies over time rather than an attempt to change them. Even people who are not Christians in America, they still do partake in things like healthcare and body positivity frequently. There are, of course, some instances in America where people do self-sabotage and they do what they can to change their bodies and who they are and what they look like. But it is really not that common for us to partake in activities that completely change our bodies or torment our bodies to change who we are and what we look like. So it's just like one very big difference that we see here. I am going to kind of go over some of my own personal culture. I am almost 100% German. My grandparents on my dad's side are from Germany. In the 1930s, primarily is when things started to kind of take a turn for the worse there. My grandparents, they moved to the United States in 1941. They were pregnant with their first child and they wanted to escape the dangers that were happening in Germany at the time. Obviously, I grew up in America, as did my parents and the rest of our family, but we did continue to include our German culture in our everyday living. Living in America and having German culture gave me an insight to kind of both sides of the world and the differences between the two. My grandma was very included in German culture. She still talked with family members who lived in Germany and wanted kind of that culture to be within our lives as well. They are not vastly different, however, America and Germany, they have very, very similar beliefs and cultures and things like that, but of course there are little differences. For one thing, kind of friendships and familiarity between one another is one area where Germany and the United States are very different. Americans tend to use the word friend very lightly. We don't take much time to get on a first name basis. We introduce ourselves to people. Hi, my name is Carly. Hi, I'm so-and-so, and that's just very normal here in America. In Germany, friends are considered people who are more like family and extremely close. It's not really common for people to use first names in Germany. Friends are considered really only people that are family and or close or have been known for several years, whereas here in America, for example, I've worked with somebody for a month and I consider them a friend. Germany, they do not do that. One of the biggest surprises for our family was kind of my grandma's resilience on allowing people into her home. She was very particular and careful on who she considered a friend. She almost never gave her first name out besides for business or people that she had gotten to know over several years. So really we are just kind of more friendly and willing to get to know others in America, which is very weird in German culture that I have noticed. The practice has not changed much over several decades. Germans are very straightforward. They don't pay much attention to people that they don't know. Most people did not, and still do not know each other's first names. They go by last names strictly. During the war, especially, families were introduced and explained as a whole by last names. In America, we explain a family and we say, oh, Joe and Sally and their kids, Tina, Tim, and Tom. But in Germany, families remained kind of a mystery. They were introduced by last name, so you would say, oh, the Smith, and that would include a whole part of a family, but you didn't really know exactly who was in the family. This affected people in the war, but it also did save a lot of lives. That's one thing that my grandma liked to talk to us about, was when people would come in and they would invade homes and they would take people out of their homes during the war. They would say, how many people are in the Smith? How many people are the Smith family? But people really didn't know because they didn't go by first names. So they would say, oh, well, maybe it's just the wife and the husband and this one child. But it might miss out a couple of kids. And so it did save a lot of lives. So that's one thing. This is not really as useful in today's day. We don't really have anything going on like that in America that we have to be concerned about. So it can cause some sort of feelings of confusion and mistrust amongst the Germans in the United States when they get to know each other or are involved in each other's culture. The United States and Germany, they've both had to do a lot of work to become better. We know that the United States is prominently in a good spot. They usually are. Of course, we do have our battles, but Germany definitely did take the rougher end of everything that happened. German culture includes bettering their economy and striving for better health care and satisfaction for their citizens. The changes that have been made have been better for the economy, and Germany has come a long way, obviously, since the 1930s. They still have their differences from the United States, and we share different values and beliefs, but overall, they do still remain rather similar. There's still culture shocks for each, but the two have grown over the past several years, decades even. I would say that in today's date, especially, Germany is doing better versus America with their economy and just the practices that they continue to do to help their nation flourish. We have seen a lot of struggle here in the United States, especially within the last few years that are a little bit worrisome, but we tend to read a lot about all of the good that Germany is doing, and we just kind of hope that maybe we can do better for our own economy. In an article by Martha Peake in 1990, titled "The German Economic Miracle," she researches and states different plans after the Cold War. Germany was able to brainstorm some new market strategies and implement new incentives and increases in tax dollars to better the economy, just to rectify what had been destroyed during the recent devastations. So these plans for both the United States and Germany were not really something that could be eradicated in only a few years. We're still working on that today, so this is still playing a part in today's society for the daily lives of all of the citizens. It's just kind of things like this that affect an economy so epically, not in a good way, obviously, will continue to need work. We're always going to need more work. Circling back, however, to the Nacirema culture, the practices that they use are detrimental to those who participate. They pose a danger and a risk to everyone involved. Obviously, here in America and in Germany, we're always doing things to better ourselves, better health care, better education systems, just things like that. We're trying to increase or decrease our homeless population and things like that. This culture, there's just a lot of dangers. The reports show that there is so much unknown about this culture, and yet that is true. I think that there are even more dangers that we're maybe not aware of because of the information that we don't have. So reading that article is very interesting. I think it kind of opens our eyes to situations that we don't see in our culture, and it's interesting to learn about it, but it's also really important that we notice the risk and the danger so that we can avoid that. Again, my name is Carly, and I go to Grand Canyon University, and I enjoyed reading this article. Thank you. Have a great day.